When we sit down to read or write, we can be intimidated by the genius of the authors we admire. It can be reassuring then to learn that throughout history, the great writers have also looked at other authors for inspiration and approval. In this video then, I want to look at different writers and their idols, and argue for the importance of having literary idols. Plato's and Aristotle's is one of the oldest intellectual friendships in the Western world. Plato taught Aristotle at the Academy in Athens for 20 years. Aristotle revered Plato, but after his death in 348 BCE, he departed from these ideas and developed his own branch of philosophy. This fresco by Raphael, titled The School of Athens, shows the older Plato on the left, pointing upwards, and Aristotle to the right, pointing to the earth. This suggests how their philosophical ideas differ. Plato's are more abstract, while Aristotle's are more empirical and practical. However, Aristotle is still looking towards his master Plato. We're always creating our views about the world in relationship to other people, whether we follow in their steps or oppose them. Much closer to our time, we have Ezra Pound, who was one of the most influential poets of the 20th century and the main figure in the modernist movement. Pound had very strong ideas about what poetry should be, and he described them in his essay, A Retrospect, as such. 1. Direct treatment of the thing, whether subjective or objective. 2. To use absolutely no word that does not contribute towards the presentation. 3. As regarding rhythm, to compose in the sequence of the musical phrase, not in sequence of a metronome. Pound was an influential voice in the modernist movement, and many younger poets were influenced by him. T.S. Eliot was one of them, and when he wrote his poem The Wasteland in the 1920s, he gave the manuscript to Pound to correct it. Pound's corrections and comments had a massive influence on Eliot. Pound removed many lines from the poem to cut it down to what we have today. For example, Eliot wrote a section in the style of Alexander Pope, but Pound told him, if you cannot write better than Pope, there's no point in having it. This is a picture of a page of the manuscript with Pound's corrections. I find particularly funny, on the right hand of the page, what I can read as, perhaps be damned. Pound also had an influence on Robert Lowell, who wrote a letter to Pound when he was 19. Lowell was doing his undergraduate studies at Harvard at the time, and was beginning to find his way as a poet. Lowell wrote to Pound in admiration, asking him to become his apprentice in Italy, where Pound was living at the time. Lowell's letter reads, May the 2nd, 1936. Dear Mr. Pound, I have been wanting to write you for several months, but haven't quite had the courage to until now. You will probably think that I am very impudent and presumptuous, but I want to come to Italy and work under you and forge my way into reality. I have no right to ask this of you, yet let me try to describe myself and explain my desire. Last spring, I began reading English poetry and writing myself. I spent the summer alone with a friend, reading and writing. Since then, I have been sucking in atmosphere, reading. And here there is a strike-through over the word writing, and instead we have dreaming. Writing and trying to help one or two friends have been the only real things in life for me. At college, I have yearned after iron and have been choked with cobwebs. I have had a good chance to read. I have gained a lot of inevitable experience. But no one here is really fighting. The courses are catalogs rather than windows. Pound declined Lowell's offer to work with them, but later in life they became friends, and Lowell followed Pound as one of the most important American poets. Lastly, we have James Joyce and his admiration for the Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen. Joyce defended Ibsen among his peers at University College Dublin, who thought that Ibsen was an immoral playwright. At 18, Joyce learned Norwegian just to write a letter to Ibsen. In the letter, he tells Ibsen about his admiration for his plays, and the letter ends like this. And this is what I write to you of now. Your work on earth draws to a close, and you are near the silence. It is growing dark for you. Many write of such things, but they do not know. You have only opened the way, though you have gone as far as you could upon it, to the end of John Gabriel Workman and its spiritual truth. For your last play stands, I take it, apart. But I am sure that higher and holier enlightenment lies onward. As one of the young generation for whom you have spoken, I give you greeting. Not humbly, because I am obscure, and you in the glare. Not sadly, because you are an old man, and I a young man. Not presumptuously, nor sentimentally, but joyfully, with hope and with love. I give you greeting. Joyce perfectly understood the influence that a literary idol can have, but he also understood that one great writer must lead the way to another. Joyce writes, but I am sure that higher and holier enlightenment lies onward. That onward is Joyce, as he realizes that he must take on the full responsibilities of being an artist. Ibsen responded kindly to his letter, and this marked Joyce's career from the very start. Joyce went on to devote his entire life to art, and spent much of his life writing Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake. He was heavily influenced by his idols, He didn't remain a worshipper. He used their influence to carve his own way in the world of literature. We all have access to the books and idols that can change the course of our life. We just need to learn how to contend with them.